Happy New Year, yes, and Happy Wednesday. Come on in, pull up a chair because the Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com. So happy New Year. Yes, it's now 2019. I guarantee it's probably going to take me about a month before I keep screwing up and saying it's 2018, or I'm writing something, writing the date or something, and I put down 2018. I know it. It happens just about every year. Usually takes me about a good month. So, welcome aboard. This is episode 221 of the Daily Dope. So, if this is your first time tuning in, thank you very much for joining me. This is a live stream, very, very casual. I just, talk mainly about tabletop games, sit down, do some unboxings and first looks, as well as do some reviews as well. So, on today's show, I am going to be unboxing and taking a first look at AuZtralia from Stronghold Games. It is a Lovecraftian game, and I will get into the subject matter of it in just a bit. It is designed by Martin Wallace. It's actually the first Martin Wallace design for Stronghold Games, and it is number 11 in the Great Designers series, or Great Designers series. So, do have some news today as well. I'm going to jump into that in just a little bit. Did want to talk about a couple of things real quick. I have changed some things around a little bit in the Duct Tape Studios. I'm still working on some of the lighting. I'm getting way too much shadow right here. But I have changed up some lighting. So hopefully better color balance when we're taking a look at the games. When I'm doing reviews, when I have the other camera that's focused on whatever gaming release we're taking a look at that day. Plus, I also switched out cameras. In fact, that's why I'm a few minutes late getting started tonight, because I swapped out. I went back to my other camera. So I was using a Canon, which has a mic jack. Not that I use the mic. I don't use that mic at all. But it's the more recent camera that I had purchased. I had it for less than a year. And it just seemed to be, I don't know if it needs more light, because there is really no natural lighting in the Duct Tape Studios. It all has to be done by bulbs. So, hey, that's how it works, right? But the Canon just didn't seem to have like vibrant color. So I actually broke out my older camera, which is a JVC, which I used to shoot just like the outside the box videos and things like that. And we're going to give that a run for its money. What I'm going to do here is, I'm just double checking. So it took me a few minutes was that I forgot most cameras, because I take the battery off. I take the battery off the camera because I don't run power directly into the camera and run it with the battery, because it'll usually kind of ruin it. But what'll happen is your cameras have like an auto power off, and it's after just a few minutes. I forgot I had to change that up. So I'm going to start the stream, and then I notice the other camera goes off, and I'm like, oh crap. I need to turn off that auto power saving mode. Hey, John Vogels chiming in. Happy New Year to you too, John. Thank you for joining me tonight. Other thing I was going to mention, yes, this is a live stream. So if you happen to be watching on YouTube, there is chat available. I'm pretty friendly. Chat's just not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the stranger commenters at bay, but I do pay attention to the chat. So if you want to say howdy, you have a question, or maybe you want to get a better look at AuZtralia, maybe I'm not looking, maybe I passed through something too quickly during the first look here, and you want for me to take a moment to take a better look, by all means, feel free and ask. Today is Wednesday. Normally I do war games on Wednesdays. It's War Game Wednesday, right? AuZtralia is kind of a war game. There is a conflict, sort of, it's, armies battling the minions of Cthulhu. So there's a wargaming element to it. All right, so as I mentioned before, I've got some news on the slate. Not a ton of news. Unfortunately, not a lot of images for the news either, which I thought was very, very strange. A lot of the stuff today, I only have one image I can share. But I know there are some people out there who dislike the tabletop gaming news on each show. So if you are one of those, look in the show notes below. There are timestamps. You can jump right past the news. Anyway, let's jump on into the news and get started, because Druid City Games is releasing a new fantasy game next month, and it looks pretty interesting. And I've got the dope on Guardian's Call. There is danger in the west. Ferocious orcs are raiding and pillaging, and behind them comes the mighty dragon Goliath. I would have thought it was Goliath, but it is Golianth. Goliath. Or Goliath. You are a guardian, one of the 5 rival heroes sworn to defend the realm. The king has decreed that you must work together to send weapons and shields, search for ancient artifacts, and call on the power of magical spells, all while bringing villagers to safety within the castle. There are many guardians, but there can only be one guardian of the realm. There can be only one. The leader who will lead their combined strength to victory. Bring the greatest resources to the council and save the most villagers, and you will be named the Guardian of the Realm. Guardian's Call is a bluffing and deduction game for 2 to 5 players. Each player takes the role of a renowned guardian, a leader of one of the mighty clans. Each turn you will gather provisions from the center pool and then make an offer of aid to another player. That player will decide if they think your offer is sincere or if they think you're trying to deceive them. If they are correct in guessing, they gain all the provisions that were offered. If they were incorrect, you gain the provisions. Each type of provision grants points in a different manner, and the more you collect, the greater their points value. Guardian's Call is for 2 to 5 players, as I previously mentioned, ages 14 and up, plays around 20 to 40 minutes, and will carry an MSRP of $39.99 when it releases on February 21st. I wish there had been more images of this that I can share. I like the artwork. I think the art style is pretty cool. And I do have the one shot that it's showing like all the components. Looks like there's quite a bit in this as I bump my little pop filter on the mic. Hopefully that wasn't a big boom, big thump. But I like the art style. Looks like you're getting quite a bit for your $40. Kind of interested in this kind of bluffing aspect to it. Because it's, I guess you're sort of cooperating, but you're not cooperating. Because everybody's a guardian, right? Everybody's trying to save the realm. Don't know. Could be pretty interesting. Druid City Games, I have not played any of their titles. I have heard some good stuff about some of their releases, though. All right, so if you're a fan of The Walking Dead, or at least the comic book version, you might be interested in Something to Fear, coming from Skybound Games during the next quarter. And here's the dope. Walking Dead Something to Fear is a simultaneous card selection game with variable power. I need a sip. It is, once again, very, very dry down here. There we go. Much better. It's a simultaneous card selection game with variable powers. Geez, I have 4 days off and I can't even speak. For 2 to 6 players. And uneasy partnerships. Players must outwit their frenemies in order to acquire the best sets of cards to win the game. But if players aren't careful, the group will be overwhelmed and everyone will lose. In The Walking Dead Something to Fear, players attempt to survive 9 waves of walkers and brutal villains while collecting supplies and weapons in the post-apocalyptic world of Skybound's acclaimed series, The Walking Dead. Each round, players secretly play 1 card from their hand face down. All cards are simultaneously revealed to determine round turn order and ability resolution. Players use iconic characters to secure sets of cards in an attempt to survive the harsh conditions the groups face. At the end of each round, 1 card will escape the group and deal an amount of damage to all players at the end of the game. Players must manage 20 collective group health And if all players survive, the player with the highest set collection score wins. If the group takes 20 or more damage at the end of the game, all players lose. Do you have what it takes to survive? The Walking Dead Something to Fear is for 2 to 6 players, ages 12 and up. I don't know if it's for 12 and up because I did see some card images, although they were not from Skybound, they were from a person. So I don't use images when I just run across it. Somebody taking photos at, I think it was PAX Unplugged. There's some like zombies chomping on people and that, so I don't know if it's for ages 12 and up. I wouldn't say the comics for 12 and up. Anyway, plays in 20 to 40 minutes and will carry an MSRP of $20 when it arrives sometime in Q1. Interesting. Okay, so I am a fan of The Walking Dead. I have read the comic book for years. Pretty much, I think I hopped in about issue 20. So it has been quite a long time. Here's something I find kind of weird about this. It's not advertised in any way, shape, or form on Skybound's website. In the game section where it's like Skybound Games, they don't say anything about this. And this is actually coming out in Q1? Strange. I don't know. So that doesn't necessarily give me good feelings about, you know, this being a decent game. But, you know, you never know. Some of the Walking Dead stuff is good. Some of it is just, you know, steaming crap. Not a clue. I do think it's kind of weird that you're taking damage cards every round, and then you don't find out until the end of the game if you've taken too much damage and you lose. That's a little weird. I don't know. I don't know about that. Anyway, but I did want to share it because I know there are a lot of Walking Dead fans out there, and it's kind of cool because it's got Negan, it's got the governor, so it's quite a few different story arcs that looks like that is going to be incorporated into the game. All right, moving right along, Osprey Games is writing another supplement to the popular Frostgrave skirmish level fantasy miniatures game, and I've got the dope on the Wizards Conclave. Wizards tend to be secretive and solitary, rarely sharing their knowledge and associating with only a select few apprentices, followers, and henchmen. It's rare that they spend time in the company of other spellcasters, and rarer still that they work together. Now, however, something is about to take place that has not occurred since the great days of Felstead, a gathering of wizards. In this new supplement for Frostgrave, some of the biggest names in gaming turn their creative powers toward the Frozen City, each contributing a scenario and adding their own flair to the game. Get ready, here comes the mispronunciations. Featuring scenarios by Alessio Cavator, Alex Michel, Andy Chambers. Okay, well, I know who Andy is. Graf Thorpe. No, I know who Graf Thorpe is. Chris Promise, Daniel Mercy, Andrea Sifilogoi, Sfiligoi. Yeah, that's not easy to pronounce there. And many more. This tome provides a collection of adventures that will pit players against unimaginable foes. I don't know, I could imagine some pretty good foes. And challenges, pushing their wizards and warbands to new limits. The 96-page sourcebook will be available in paperback. I am not seeing any digital release scheduled as of yet. It will arrive on February 21st and carry an MSRP of $25. Frostgrave is pretty cool. Frostgrave is pretty popular. You don't need a ton of minis to get started with it. Most warbands are about 10 figures, even fewer than that when you first start off. It's pretty cool. I got to admit, it has taken some supplements and some expansions to the game to kind of flesh it out. Because when it first came out, I'm familiar with the core rules for it. When it first came out, I found it to be a little light. As far as the campaign, which is kind of the selling point of Frostgrave. It's along the lines of like Necromunda, or is it Necromundia from Games Workshop, where it's more skirmish level. So it's there's a very deeply ingrained RPG element to the game. But Frostgrave is pretty cool. So definitely, if you are a fan, keep your eyes peeled. I should also mention that Frostgrave creator Joseph A. McCullough has a new supplement for his Rangers of Shadow Deep miniatures game. Once again, this is a small figure count skirmish level game, and I've got the dope on Blood Moon. Werewolves have descended on the isolated village of High Rock, leaving death and destruction in their wake. Separated from their usual companions, the Rangers must rely on a group of auxiliary soldiers to lead them to the village, help fight the werewolves, and hopefully rescue any survivors. However, as the Rangers investigate the scene, it becomes increasingly clear that one of those auxiliaries is hiding a deadly secret. They're a werewolf, maybe? That's a guess. Rangers of Shadow Deep Blood Moon is a mini expansion consisting of a one-scenario mission. It includes profiles for 4 unique companions, 2 new monsters, and full rules for becoming infected with lycanthropy. The 24-page Blood Moon is available from my friends over at DriveThruRPG for $3.50. And of course, as I always like to point out, the Gaming Gang is an affiliate of the One Bookshelf. I swear I should quit trying to say One Bookshelf. I used to always just say drive-through sites. So let's say that the Gaming Gang is an affiliate of the drive-through websites. So if you are going to pop over to like Drive-Thru Comics, Drive-Thru RPG, Wargame Vault, by all means, please stop by thegaminggang.com, click on one of our banners, and of course, if you make a purchase, get a little portion of that sale. Okay, so my final news piece. This April, Paizo plans to make climbing aboard Starfinder that much easier with the starter box, and I've got the dope. Paizo Inc. announced the Starfinder beginner box at the Gen Con game convention this past summer in Indianapolis, Indiana. The streamlined rules presentation in the box is an ideal opportunity to bring new players into the hobby industry and presents easy-to-digest rules for beginning players. It's going to be available for purchase at Paizo.com and, of course, retailers worldwide this spring. Players will find simple rules for creating and customizing their hero, as well as a robust system for running their character through challenging adventures and deadly battles against villainous aliens, said Robert G. McCreary, creative director for the Starfinder RPG. It's the ideal first step into an adventure in the stars. The Starfinder beginner box is packed with everything players need to get started playing Starfinder and includes a 96-page Hero's Handbook detailing character creation, weapons and equipment, magic spells, and general rules for playing the game. A 96-page Game Master's Guide packed with adventure, alien adversaries, an introduction to the Starfinder setting, and advice on how to create and narrate science fantasy adventures. A complete set of 7 polyhedral dice, more than 80 full-color pawns depicting diverse heroes and aliens, 6 pre-generated character sheets to throw players right into the action, 6 blank character sheets to record the abilities of custom-made heroes, 6 player aid cards for quick rules references during play, and a durable, reusable, double-sided flip mat play surface that works with any kind of marker. The Starfinder Beginner Box will be available April 24th and will carry an MSRP of $39.99. Cool, very cool. I liked Starfinder. Now, granted, I have only reviewed the core rulebook. I thought it was a little light on gear. There was a little light on a few things, and all right, so I gotta be honest, I don't think the backstory is the most phenomenal as far as a kind of like a science fantasy game, heavier on the fantasy. But I thought it was pretty nice. I appreciated the fact that it was not simply just Pathfinder kit bashed to make into a science fiction setting. So I appreciated that. I did like that. I did like that aspect. I'm kind of curious though. We've got the beginner box for Starfinder coming out in April. Shortly after that, we are going to have second edition Pathfinder rules come out. So I think, I know there are some folks out there who are big Starfinder fans who feel that IP kind of gets the short end of the stick from Paizo, that it's kind of the redheaded stepchild of Paizo. But reality is there's new stuff for it every month. Granted, there's not as much as there is for Pathfinder, but you still have the monthly adventure path releases. There's been the Armory that came out. There's the Bestiary, the Alien Bestiary. There's I want to say there's another book on the horizon. I'm not sure if they're still doing playtesting for it or if it's done, but it's going to have some new character classes and things like that in it as well. I'm just kind of curious. I wonder how well the beginner box is going to go over. And I've heard people already complaining, oh, they think the second edition of Pathfinder is gonna be popular to start off with and then right off the cliff, but I'm not buying it. I don't believe it. I think it's gonna be just fine. I think they're gonna sell quite a lot of those. All right, so as I mentioned, I am gonna be taking a first look at AuZtralia in just a couple of minutes. Did want to talk about what's coming up the rest of this week, as well as what's on the horizon next week. So Thursdays, love doing RPGs. So tomorrow we're going to actually crack open quite a few, well, a trio of Torg Eternity releases for Living Land. So I've got the Delphi Missions, which is kind of a short book. This looks like this is maybe 60-some, 70 pages maybe. So this is a new Delphi mission book. We've got the Living Land source book. So this is going to talk about the Living Land Cosm. And then I also have the Living Land GM screen, which I think it comes with character sheets or something else. I have not really taken a hard look. I never do when I do unboxings and stuff. It's just, I like everything coming as a surprise. I don't sit there and read like a bunch of stuff online. I just like to crack it open and kind of be surprised. Like, like it's Christmas Day. Every day I open something. So anyway, so those are going to be on tomorrow's show. Then on Friday's show, I'm going to take a look at the fantasy deck building game, Shadow Rift. So that will be on Friday's show. This is from Stronghold Games, although there is no company logo on this. So I have heard some pretty good things about this, and I like deck builders. I'm a fan of deck builders, good deck builders. There are some that just aren't so hot. Then on Monday's show, I am going to unbox and take a first look at Paper Tales from Stronghold Games. This is another fantasy game. This is the one that I was really interested in checking out when I had talked to Stephen Bonacore at Origins about this. I think we chatted a little bit about it at Gen Con. And of course, I just recently had interviewed Stephen back in December. So this is what we'll be looking at on Monday's show. Then on Tuesday's show, I am going to review Nemo's War from Victory Point Games. This is the second edition with all the primo cool components and the little miniature of the Nautilus as well. And then on next Wednesday's show, it will be back to a pretty traditional looking war game. I'm going to be taking a look at the Dark Sands War in North Africa 1940-42 from my friends over at GMT Games. So very cool. Got quite a few things lined up already. I have some other stuff in the pipeline that we'll be taking first looks and doing unboxings for, and I got some reviews on the horizon, so should start off the new year in pretty good shape with quite a bit going on. All right, so now that I got that out of the way, last thing I did want to say is if you are a viewer of The Daily Dope, if you visit thegaminggang.com, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. When I first kicked off doing The Daily Dope, I actually started when the Gaming Gang has been around since 2010. So I know for a lot of people, they catch these videos and are like, oh, this is new. I've never, I'm not familiar with this. No, I've been around for a long time. People in the industry know who I am. And I actually started back in, gosh, I want to say it was 2013-ish, after my best friend Elliot Miller had left the Gaming Gang. He was going to go kind of branch off on his own to do his own website, voiceofv.com, I started doing like a daily news show that I called, it was a podcast though, called The Daily Dope. And it only lasted about a month. And it was like, wow, there's a lot of work. So when I decided I was going to do a streaming show, most Monday through Fridays, right? Most Monday through Fridays, every once in a while, you know, I mean, I did have a heart attack in March, almost died. So, you know, I only took a few days off for that though, and I was back. But I was like, okay, I'm going to give this a shot. I honestly wasn't sure if I was going to get through 220 episodes. Kind of cool. I am having fun, and hopefully, I know there aren't like millions of people watching these videos and that, but if you are someone who stops by and checks out the site over at thegaminggang.com, or if you watch videos here on the Gaming Gang channel, I really, really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And I know, you know, I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea, right? So I do appreciate it. Really, really appreciate that. Okay, so I'm sure people are tuning in because they want to check out AuZtralia from Stronghold Games. It is designed by Martin Wallace with artwork provided by James Comier. Hopefully I got that right. Hopefully I'm close. The game is for 1 to 4 players, ages 13 and up. Plays in 30 minutes to 2 hours. I'm going to take a stab in the dark that that's probably partially based on player count and maybe based on scenario. It does carry an MSRP of $69.95. This came out, I want to say, a couple of months ago. All right, so let's move on over to the other camera here. There we go. So it does look, at least in my humble opinion, it does look like we are getting kind of brighter color than I am used to with the other camera. Plus, I was doing some tests over the past few days, and it appeared that the videos were a little sharper if you go full screen on like on a TV, not on, you know, an iPad or your phone or anything. I mean, then it still looks nice and sharp, but it did look like it was a little bit sharper. All right. So let's crack this on open. We're going to flip it over. So this is from Schimmel, SCH. I'm assuming that's an ILMIL Games Limited. I am not familiar with them. I am more familiar now. I can't tell you if Martin Wallace still has his Tree Frog Games or not. I would guess he probably does. So I'm not familiar with them, but of course, Stronghold Games I'm very, very familiar with. So this is kind of I don't want to necessarily say it's a sequel. It's kind of like a follow-up to a Study in Emerald, which I do believe was released through Tree Frog Games. So A Study in Emerald is actually based on the short story by Neil Gaiman, who I am a huge fan of. One person in this world I would love to interview is Neil Gaiman, because Neil Gaiman strikes me as he's one of these types of people who just knows a lot of stuff about a lot of stuff. And he just seems really interesting and cool. I'm not saying he doesn't have any ego or anything like that, but he does seem like he's just a cool, interesting person who would be a lot of fun to interview. Anyway, A Study in Emerald. Now, I'm thinking back. It's if I remember correctly, it is from an anthology of Lovecraftian stories. And it's supposed to be the 1880s, 1890s, and it's Sherlock Holmes. It's Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson, but it's like this Lovecraftian, Cthulhian, Victorian England. And in fact, if I remember correctly, Queen Victoria is sort of like a slug creature or something like that. So I mean, it's kind of like the old ones rule over humanity in this setting. If I remember correctly, because it's been a long time. But it is based, the first game, A Study in Emerald, is based on the Neil Gaiman short story. So what happens here is in AuZtralia, this is supposed to be the 1930s. The minions of Cthulhu were defeated, and now there's a bit of an exploration going on in Australia, and then they discover, oops, guess we didn't knock these guys out for good. They're hiding out in Australia. So let's take a look at the text on the back. We've got explore, build, farm, be prepared to fight for your life. It's 1932, a new world is discovered. Unfortunately, the old ones got there first. AuZtralia is designed by renowned game designer Martin Wallace and thematically linked to his game A Study in Emerald. Set in an alternate reality, 1930s, where the northern hemisphere lands are poisoned and the masses are starving, adventurers set out to explore and settle lands in the newly discovered Australia. Little did they know that the surviving old ones have taken up residence in the outback and will soon awaken. Bum, bum, bum. Everything you do in the game costs time. At a point in time, the old ones will awaken and become an active player. They begin to reveal themselves and move with potentially devastating outcomes. You'll need to prepare wisely for the awakening and may have to cooperate with others to defeat the most dangerous old ones. Build a port, construct railways, mine resources, farm for food, recruit military units and unique personalities, and prepare for the awakening of the old ones for a fight for your lives. Will humanity prevail, or will the old ones wreak their revenge in AuZtralia? Okay, so showing some of the components, things like that. Let's crack this open. And one thing I do want to point out, this game has got heft to it. Got some serious heft. Hey, something else I do want to point out. Changed up how my camera is set up too. So I used to have it on a tripod. It is no longer on a tripod. It's actually on a pole pointing down. And it is held in place with duct tape. Hey, it's the Duct Tape Studios for a reason. I mean, it's not the camera itself taped on. I have it attached to a piece of metal, screwed into a piece of metal, and the piece of metal is actually duct taped on. Okay, so here we go. Let's check this out. Now, I do want to point out, I have not played a ton of Martin Wallace designs. I've played a few, and one thing I always find out, I find the games themselves mechanically are always interesting. And Lead Magnets chiming in. Tree Frog ceased publishing games in 2016. Martin decided to focus on game design instead of running a publishing company. Cool. Thank you for pointing that out. I wasn't sure if Tree Frog was still around or not. What is one of the games that I have from Tree Frog? Is it, I think it's Tammany Hall off the top of my head. So, anywho, yeah, there's some behind the scenes stuff that I've heard about Martin Wallace in the past, and I'm not going to get into. Anyway, so I was going to say that with the Martin Wallace designs, I always find them very interesting mechanically, but there's always like one thing, like one little thing that's kind of like a head scratcher. I'm not saying like a broken mechanic or something. It's just sort of like you always kind of step back and go, huh, I wouldn't have expected that. Okay, so let's look in the rule book. Not super long. So we've got an introduction, talking about the contents, game overview, and objective. AuZtralia is a military economic adventure game for 1 to 4 players. I'm really glad that there's a solitaire aspect to the game, so you can play it by yourself. So we got the components, got the player boards, we got the game board. So it looks like, wow, we got two game boards. So we've got Eastern Australia, and then we've got a Western Australia, which is a variant map. So we got military units. So we've got infantry, armored cars, airships, artillery, and armored trains. Yeah, looks like we don't have a ton of them, though, as far as military units. Got old one pieces. We've got resources. We've got cards. So we've got personality cards, Old One cards, Revelation cards, solo objective cards, and 2-player variant cards. Got survey tiles, player aids, victory point tokens, sanity tokens. Oh yeah, that's cool. Combat marker. So now we're talking about the Old Ones explained, the Old One cards. There's Cthulhu for us right there. So it looks like we've got Cthulhu, we got Shoggoths, Migos, Zombies, Loyalists, and Temples. Okay. Talking about the board. It's a hexagonal board. Setting up the game. Playing the game. Talking about different actions available, so we can build railways, mine, recruit help, buy a military unit, import or export, or both. Farm, attack, and retrieve cubes. Let's see what we got here. So it then explains each of the actions. Then we got resolving combat. So you have to check your sanity, flip the Old One cards over, and it's deciding when, if to withdraw. That's nice. So it's not even saying, well, you know, in case of victory. It's like, okay, so you got to decide when and if you're going to withdraw. Also, it looks like, I guess you draw new one, Old One cards as you're fighting. So we've got effectiveness of units. We had combat resolution here. Destroying Old Ones. Defending your port. Combat with one or more Old One. Effectiveness of units. An example of combat. So it looks like we got like a little combat board. Is that what I was seeing? Activating Old Ones. Old One movement. Recruiting help with the personality cards. That's cool. They look like, it appears all the personalities are fictional. From what I can tell, yeah, looks like they're all fictional. Okay, description of the Old Ones. So, of course, Cthulhu's our big bad. Then we got the game variants. So we got a solo mode, solo objectives, 2-player variants, Western Australia, full co-op. We got 3 to 4 player challenges. Then we got ending the game and scoring. So basically, looks like we got victory points. So the players track victory points, and so do the Old Ones. That's pretty interesting. Cool. All right, so that is the rule book there. Let's see what we've got. Oh, this looks like this is the player. Kind of like the player aid right here. Yep, right. It says right there, player aid. That's cool. Only got one of those, so everybody's got to share that. This looks like the map. We'll take a look at that last. Pretty big hexes though. It's good size hex on these. I don't have huge hands, but still. So we'll take a look at that in just a couple moments. These are the player boards, so we should see 4 of these. And they are dual-sided. So, looks like they're kind of similar. Oh, there we go. Okay, so depending on which map you're using. So you got Eastern Barracks, Western Barracks. There we go. So that's what the main difference looks like. Looks like this is where you're tracking what actions you're taking, probably. So we got the infantry, armored cars, artillery, airships, armored trains. So we got 4 of those. All right, looks like we got some punch boards here. So it looks like rail lines. Those are the armored trains. This looks like these are different tokens representing your farm. Almost look like that. Doesn't look like Cthulhu. Too many tentacles coming out of the face. Looks like this is kind of a random. I bet you this is probably for for determining how the old ones move. You just kind of put this on the map somewhere so you can roll a die and just take a look. Although, I would think that would be on the board, right? Alright, so we got dual-sided here. Not sure what these are. Maybe this is how, like, the old ones move around, or how the old ones spawn. Because it looks like these are probably face down. Or maybe these are, like, scouting reports or something like that. Oh, look at that, like, dry, cracked earth. So, I wonder if that represents, like, blight or something like that. Like, you start off and maybe you've got, like, you know, I wouldn't just say corn, but let's say traditional farms, and then we've got, you know, livestock. But then if it's blighted, you're actually going to flip it over. I'm just guessing. I'm just taking a guess. So we've got, I'm taking a stab that we've got these are color-coded for each of the players. So you've got the yellow here, red here. It looked like we had zombies, so I believe these are zombies right here. There's Cthulhu. There's the... I'm not sure why we got the kangaroo there. I don't know. Those are supposed to be Shoggoths, I believe. Maybe those are cultists? Followers? Cultist followers? Those are Migo. And obviously tell that those are supposed to be Migo there. Then we've got the red. And then we got green. We've got the armored cars here. We got more of these kangaroos. That's kind of wild. Maybe it's basically you've got these. Maybe you pull these blindly, and it could turn out well. Your reports were incorrect. It's only like natural wildlife or something. I don't know. That's a possibility. Okay, then we got the blue player. And we've got more zombies, another Migo, more Migos, I should say. Got some of the Shoggoths there. And these aren't as strong. So it looks like 2 and 4, 1 and 2. Okay. And then we've got the Migo in like a step pyramid. So we have the step pyramids here. Okie doke. Now we got some artillery, we got infantry, we've got the airships, we've got some extra rail counters, armored cars. I don't know, maybe these are like sanity tokens of some sort. Taking a guess. I was looking to see because they're dual-sided, but it's not like a step reduction. See, we got a 1 and 2 and a 1 and 2 here. So it's not as if you're going to be flipping these over for like step reduction, like damage reduction. All right, and then we got a bunch of different cubes and tokens, and it's like this is where you mark your port. I'm taking a guess that each of the players probably needs to have a port because it's an exploration of AuZtralia that's going on. So I'm taking a guess that each of the players will mark their port. I think this is like a combat marker here. I think that's what I saw in the rule book. Obviously, this is one of the resources. I don't know, maybe gold from mining, possibly. Got that. We've got white. Huh. That's weird looking. Weird kind of plastic token here. Almost like stone. This looks like it's supposed to be stone. All right, now we got some black here. Almost like black gems. Got that. Got some cubes in the different player colors. I wonder if purple... I'm taking a guess purple is probably the old one's player color. Because once they activate, they're like a player. Is that at least what the rules were saying? All right, got some more cubes. These are silver. And then we've got red and blue. So I'm taking a... we had the yellow, green, red, and blue are the player colors. The purple's gotta be the old one player color. Got a bunch of baggies for your counters. And then we've got some decks of cards. Let's put this stuff back into here. Let's take a quick look at the map. I probably won't have enough space here to open the whole thing up. Now let's try. Let's move some of this stuff out of the way for a second here. One of the other things I was trying to do with setting the camera up was to get a setup where I can actually get a lot of stuff into the whole shot. So I'm at least close to getting this map in. This is a pretty decent sized board. So it looks like we got a victory point tracker across the top. We've got the different hexes here. So I guess it's showing that it's kind of like farmland. Then as we go down, we've got, oh, hey, see, there's that thing I was talking about, the little counter that shows the hex and then six-sided die. Like you roll a six-sided die to see which way the old one's forces move. I don't know why you got a token for that, why you have a counter for that. All right, and then, yeah, these must be cultists. These guys here must be cultists or followers. So we've got that side, and then we've got this side. So we had Western Australia, and now we've got Eastern Australia. And I believe Eastern Australia is the default. I think this is the default map, default board. That's pretty wild. Kind of cool. There's a spider crawling on the board up here in the corner. Cool. Very nice. Very nice component quality. I can tell you that right now. Really nicely done. Okay, so we've got the board. Now let's look at these decks of cards here. So these are like combat cards. So I know it was showing like examples of combat, and they were showing this, which that's why I said, oh, hey, it's almost like it's almost as if there's like a combat board that you place units on. All right, Glenn Darren's chiming in. Happy New Year, Jeff. Hope you got some well-deserved rest. I sort of did. You know, honestly. Okay, so New Year's Eve, I went to a party for some friends. I met them through my brother and my sister-in-law. And they're gamers, but they're not, you know, like big gamers. As I'm blocking off light with the box, all of a sudden I'm in shadow here. So they're huge fans of Wits and Wagers Vegas. So whenever they have a party, they invite me to come by, and I host some Wits and Wagers Vegas edition. So that was fun. I had a good time doing that. Spent a lot of time reading role-playing game stuff. So yeah, didn't get to do a lot of gaming. I did get to play some Nemo's War. That was, but of course that was solitaire. All right, so looking at these cards, I am not positive what these cards are actually going to represent, because they're showing these different columns with different things in the columns. I do not know. Then we've got some numbers up top. I will have to check that out when I actually read the rules, as opposed to just flipping through. So that seems to be like the combat deck. Now I know we've got this looks like these are 2-player variants. So we should have a few cards here. Yeah, just a handful of cards here. I believe this is solitaire player objectives. Wasn't that what we saw in the rules? I am not positive what this is. Or this. So we've got 3, 2, 1. And then I believe these are the personalities. Yep, looks like all the rest of those are personalities. Which I believe you have to recruit. I think you have to recruit these personalities. So Agent Davies, Alonzo Castro, must be related to Fidel, Alexander Proust, Billy Kneebone, Bombardier Milligan, Boris Krupp. Wait a second. Okay, so Krupp guns. Maybe they're not all. Well, Captain Flounder. Come on, give me a break. So I assumed all of these would just simply be, you know, fictional characters, but I don't know. Krupp kind of tells me, hey, so I see Count Jago. I'm going to take a guess. A lot of these characters are based on people, the artwork's based on somebody the artist knows. It just gives you that feeling, right? Looking at this farmer guy. Franz Newman. Well, I got to admit, there are a wide variety of nationalities. Jenny Appleseed, huh? Juliet Verne. All right, so quite a few of these. That's pretty cool. So some are military related, some are kind of like farming related. Sweet. All right, so we got those. So these are the personalities. So we got the 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so don't we have numbers on some of these tiles? I saw numbers on some of these tiles. Yep. So we got 3s, we got 2s. Okay, so I'm taking a guess that when you send a unit into some of these hexes, why did I say tiles or hexes? When you send a unit into a hex with a number on it, I'm guessing you're probably going to draw a card because it looks like these are event cards. Reveal the old one and the lowest numbered hex. Same thing. Same thing. Come on, really? No events. Assassinations? Uh-oh. Zombie. No, still reveal the old one and the lowest numbered hex. Okay. Not a lot of variety to that. Let's see. What we got here? No events. Draw and place a level 3 old one tile face up on each revealed temple. Another assassination. Revealing the old one again. Huh. Okay. Well, they mix up the artwork, but seem to have a lot of the same kind of things going on. And then for the 3, looks like probably, yeah, looks like kind of a lot of the same stuff. Except more old ones, that's for sure. Huh. It's a lot of the same kind of stuff. Well, I wasn't expecting, like, you know, big, you know, events like a GMT game, you know, a lot of historical stuff, right? All right, so we've got the 2-player variant. Get off my track. Flipping farms. Sheep. Get Mr. Big. Fast rail. Looks like there's a couple of things on each of these. Fast rail, 2-up co-op. Okay. Not sure when those come into play. Then we got the solitaire objectives. Golden Glow, 20 victory points. End the game with at least 6 gold in your warehouse. Losing your mind. Start with all 13 sanity tokens. Do not retrieve any that are lost in combat. If Count Jago turns up, discard him and draw another person. So, do you get victory points if your sanity runs out? Straight to the top. Frantic Farmer, Railroader, well-equipped, unmanned, by no infantry. I wonder... Well, it said that these were just for the solitaire game, but those sound kind of cool, like if you had more than one player, each person secretly getting one of these cards for extra victory points. I don't know. All right, so we've got the cards. We got the various decks of cards. We got the board. Let me bring this stuff back over here. So we've got that one thing showing a 6-sided die, right? For right here, right? Now, come on, any gamer is going to have a 6-sided die, but I'll tell you one thing I don't see in here is a 6-sided die. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not a 6-sided die that's getting rolled, but it certainly looked like it. All right, so let's put these cards back in here. Punch boards. And the player boards. Player aid and the rules. I'm interested in checking this out because I am a big Lovecraft game fan, so I will be diving in this. I know my nephew Cameron will probably get a kick out of it, and I'll try to see if I can get Elliot Miller, my best friend, and I don't know what's going on with voiceofv.com. He hasn't done anything since like March of last year, so but he still does play games with us. So I will do my best to get him on board to check this out as well. So, of course, I will have a review of AuZtralia in the very near future. All right, so that is it for today's show. Now, on tomorrow's show, as I mentioned, I am going to be looking at a trio of Torg Eternity releases for Living Land from Ulysses North America for my RPG Thursday. So, as I like to point out, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. By now you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Hey, once again, Happy New Year. It is 2019. Should have another 220 shows or so this year, too. Fingers crossed. Even though 2018 was the year that tried to kill me, it didn't happen. So anyway, I will be back tomorrow. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Thanks again for watching The Daily Dope, presented by The Gaming Gang. If you like this episode, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. And if you dig the channel, please subscribe. If you'd like to check out our previous episode, click right here. And if you want to check out a somewhat randomly selected episode, give a click right down here. It'll be like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You just don't know what you'll get. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'm Jeff McAleer.